Shall we start at the beginning?
Let's start at the beginning.
Start at the beginning. How it all began and how we started.
I met the legend John Shakespeare. How it all occurred.
Do people want to know that?
Yeah, people want to know all that boring stuff. Your microphone's just gone down a little bit.
Has it?
Yeah.
Quite annoying.
Talk again.
I just have to keep shouting.
I think shout.
I just have to pretend like I'm not shouting. So
yeah,
I'll just.
That's good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
how did we launch this? How did we launch our brand?
It seems like a hell of a long time ago now. It's 2013, but obviously we started before 2013, didn't we?
Yeah.
We started probably. Would it have been as early as 2012, or was it the beginning of 2013?
It might have been 2012. We might have had a good year in us of secret doings.
Scribblings, meetups, meeting in pubs and things. And yeah, it got to the point where we just had to put our money where our mouth was.
Yeah.
A pretty terrifying point when it was like, oh my God, this is a lot of money to spend and we don't know what's going to happen. I don't even think we thought about like the long-term future of anything at that point. We hadn't thought, well, what happens if this does work? Are we going to have to bring out another watch?
Because we went into it with this big idea and this plan of how it was going to happen, but there was no sort of real thinking like this is actually going to happen and we're actually going to have to do 2, 3, 4, 5 collections all the way through. It was more like I couldn't quite believe it was working, and people believed in us. Like I don't know what people must have thought when they came to our first exhibition and we would tell them this long story about the plan of the watch brand for the next 13 years and think, are these guys good for it? Like who are they for a start? They just arrived and they're saying they can do this, this and this, and they just had to believe us at the beginning. That must have just been such a like an unknown. It's unbelievable.
Do you remember before the WT or the brand though, like way back? And I think I found a sketchbook. I can't remember where it is now, but when we literally wrote down every single name under the sun of what we were going to call ourselves, and we just went through like a dictionary of just every single name. We were like, no, that sounds too much like a swear word, or that sounds like, and we kind of we'd take a name and then we'd like kind of mull it around for like a week, and then at some point one of us would come back to the other one and say, no, sorry, it rhymes with whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we can't use that again. But at one point before this all happened, we were going to do the Doomsday Watch. Remember?
Yeah, the Doomsday Watch. So it was like, it's such a stupid idea now, but it kind of like resonates.
Idea now. We should have brought it out like this month or something.
Yeah. But the idea was we were going to do a 13-hour watch, but obviously that wouldn't work realistically. And the only design feature of it was just going to be rotated 30 degrees, or is it 30 degrees? And have the 1 o'clock at the 12 position, and that was it. That was the idea. And thank God we didn't do that, because I'm saying it out loud now and it sounds terrible. But
I mean, the thought is there, but I can't imagine how we'd have gone to watch number 2. But I don't know what we'd have done for that. It would have just been a off watch, and that would have been it. And I think that was the problem, where we were trying to think, how are we going to progress this? All these ideas were just kind of, thrown away because we couldn't think of a way forward.
This was the thing with the whole Indiegogo launch as well, because I remember at the time we were comparing ourselves to a lot of these like flash in the pan watch brands that would just launch themselves on a crowdfunding platform and almost come back year on year saying, oh, can we have some more money, please? Because we want to do this now. And at the time, there was definitely this feeling of like all of these watch brands doing exactly that. And so even when it came to the crowdfunding stuff, there was this sort of tentative attitude to, well, is this a long-term thing? Is this just for the year one? We obviously needed to utilize it to get our name out there. So that, even that to me, it felt like a bit of a risk, because I didn't want to be lumped in with all of the other watch brands that are supposedly doing original work.
Exactly. I think as well, we would have done it regardless. Whether we'd have gone on Indiegogo or not, we were always geared up and had the funds to do it.
Yeah.
It was the Indiegogo platform that we used because we wanted people to hear about us. And there was no other real way of doing that through forums and things. It would have taken forever. So it was kind of just that initial injection of, spotlight of people being able to see what we were doing. But we still have, like, believe it or not, the website link is still live on actually still see the original campaign. Can you see that?
I can. Look at that. And it's just so sad to see that we didn't reach our goal.
Oh, yeah, we didn't, did we? But, yeah, if this had been Kickstarter, we'd have never got a go. Well, it's funny, Kickstarter said that we couldn't. We basically fired like all of this information into Kickstarter, basically everything on this site, and they sent us an email back saying they didn't believe that we weren't a professional outfit, and so they wouldn't let us on their platform.
Well, yeah, it was like
a compliment.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost a compliment, because the product was too good for their launch, because they were more, at the time, I remember they were more into like ideas and sketches and technical drawings, where we went to them and said, look, we've got this working prototype and we can launch this within the next few months. Can we launch this on your site? And they just said no. They just flat out refused. So it kind of forced our hand in a way, didn't it?
But the funny thing about this is, obviously, some nice photographs here. I'm just going to very quickly show you through. But all these beautiful photographs that were taken, so this one, which was the very first photo we took, which was the case back, which is still one of my favourite photos. All of these were taken in a light cube in my bedroom, because at the time we didn't have a workshop at that point. It was a case of we didn't know how it was going to go, and so we thought the investment had to be in the watches, not necessarily us spending a fortune on a beautiful workshop at that point. And so yeah, all these photos were taken in a light cube in my bedroom with one spotlight, and then I was just amazed how they came out. And ever since then, like this picture here of the Cream 1905, every single year now we do a photograph that replicates this angle and this style, because it just works so well. And at least now it's moved on slightly, and we're not doing it in a bedroom, we're doing it in a proper photo studio. So we've got proper studio lighting and everything. To be fair, they probably look the same as this one, but that kind of set the benchmark, really.
Yeah.
And these ones here going down to the 1905, that one and these ones here were taken on my spare bedroom floor. I just floorboards, and I thought, that would be quite cool for like all the screen prints that we'd had printed out. That we, at the time, we thought we'd save a bit of money and we'd cut them out ourselves. So we had them in this weird kind of pagination, and that we had to cut them all out.
Why did we think we would cut these screen prints out ourselves?
I know. Whereas, obviously, we do sign them and we do emboss them ourselves. But in terms of cutting them out, we were doing them with a scalpel and a ruler. Whereas now we get them printed and cut by the actual screen printer.
Yeah.
Because it makes sense that while they're doing it, that is what they do. Again, this packaging shop is taken on the floor. I think they look quite atmospheric, to be honest, considering like how they were taken.
I mean, what was great for me was the fact, I think we managed to sell all of the special editions at launch, didn't we? Like all the number ones, all the last editions, all the number 13s, all of those went in the Indiegogo phase, which it was amazing.
Well, the terrifying thing was, you remember, you can actually see, sorry, in this photo, it still has the black words on. We didn't actually go into virtual. But we sold the number one of the Cream, this one here on the screen, twice at the same time. That was the very first watch to go, and both someone ordered it twice, and we're like, oh my god, what do we do? And And so, yeah, that was a bit of a panic. And then there was also a panic when, it was PayPal a lock on our account because suddenly this dormant account basically started going crazy. So that was quite scary because we were like, we've only just launched it and now we've got to take it offline. Like, no one can buy anything.
Well, there's all these pitfalls that's almost like the pitfalls of starting a business. You don't know these things until all of a sudden you're faced with having to use a specific software or tool to promote your brand, and you haven't necessarily set it up in the correct manner or signed the right piece of paperwork, and so you're kind of like, there's this huge teething period of getting everything in place and thinking that you've got it all in place for this launch, and thinking, oh my god, I can't believe we didn't do that, we didn't do that, we didn't do that, and yeah, it is what it is, but we came through it. And
Sam, when we kind of first do that.
Yeah.
So this was me and Sam were living together at this point, in a house in Redditch, and Sam was in the basement, and he spent ages like getting all the Indiegogo and all the website live. I think we've had about 5 iterations of the website now. Sam always says, "That's it, I'm not doing any more," and then the next year he says, "I'm going to stick with the website." But yeah, this was like pretty much straight away, wasn't it? Like the first day, I think.
Well, yeah, like we had it up for a month, and so that was 2 days in. I remember having to kind of manage this myself because I think you may have still been working at this point, and so there was a lot of to and froing in that first month period.
I've also got some photos of we had to put a video together for Indiegogo because they said that videos always work best, and you can still see it on YouTube. But we went to the jewelry corner, which is where we did a lot of our kind of ideas, didn't we? We used to go after work and sketch and
metrics.
And so thankfully the guys at the jewelry school really helped us out. We went down to their basement and basically took all these like awesome videos and photos of all the machinery down there, just to kind of get the atmosphere of what we wanted to project, really. And obviously that was like these old machines because the watch was based around a pocket watch from the early 1900s. So we wanted this old machinery. And whenever we do photography, as you'll see, as you know, the years progress, we always try and use props. You'll see in the next few videos props from that era. So these were actually the very first photos that we took, even before the Indiegogo one, which were taken in my dad's workshop up in Lancashire. All of these were like original blueprints and technical drawings from the actual early 1900s. Again, you can see it's got the black rivets on there. Yeah, this was like the first photography that we'd ever done.
These were ones that weren't even used in any of the promotional marketing. Like
no. And we're also this bench here that was at my dad's workshop. That is now a bench in our workshop. We've had that donated to it. So that was basically, I think that's about 40 years old, that workbench, and it's now in our workshop. This was a gunfight from the Boer War that randomly someone had to use.
It was basically trying to gather all of these props and items that we could use to sell the product, and we were just getting them from here, there, and everywhere, weren't we?
Yeah, and also these props, also like this last photo here, is quite interesting. This shows the poker chip case back, and like the poker chips obviously there, but that kind of goes on into our first exhibition that we did, because we then used all those props. We thought we were like being quite cool and edgy with our display, and I'll show you some photos in a second of our first exhibition. But we basically just took all those props and just created these like museum archive pieces that people could always look at but not touch, really, because if they touched and picked them up, all the props were kind of falling down. We have to then like reassemble everything.
I remember they were in these like giant bell jars. It was like we'd built these kind of microscopic environments within these giant bell jars. And I remember there were two things I remember, and that was, like you said, picking up these bell jars and everything just falling down. And it was like there was this I like looking at it now, it's brilliant, because we'd set this like almost like instant barrier to the customer, so they couldn't even touch the watch. Like, it's so different to how we exhibit the watch now, where we have them all out, and people ask us if they can pick them up and touch them, and like, of course can. That's why they're out on the table. That's why we set them out in this way, because they're there to be held. And it's just funny to look back at these first ones. I think we purposely put these giant jars over them so people couldn't get to them.
That one on the left there, I think it's like a lathe underneath there. That was so precariously balanced that you literally had to blink it and it would fall off.
Yeah.
But it was a freezing cold winter in like a warehouse, and so we were wearing like massive jackets and things. And you can imagine two people stood in front of that tiny little stand there. Anyone walking past us couldn't see what we were selling anyway, because we were blocking it. And we were like wondering, like, why is no one looking at the watches? And it's probably because we're hiding them. But then it kind of picked up a bit, and then people thought we were selling picture frames, because that's really they're really nice picture frames. And we have to
absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah,
I can see those IKEA tables lasted quite a few exhibitions.
I mean, funnily, that very sharp packaging is still quite similar.
Yeah.
Like that front and center. But the crazy thing was, we actually did amazingly well, and we still have customers that still come back every year. We've got a customer that we met there in 2013 that Sam still stops around for coffee and shows them his new collection every year. And we'd never met them if we hadn't done that show. So you just don't ever know.
We've kind of built, as like, a lot of our followers have legitimately turned into friends because of the personality of the brand, and they understand that we're this micro brand dedicated to watches, that highly personal, basically two guys at the helm charging around the country, selling here, there and everywhere, and just wanting to tell this story. And I just think that says a lot and allows us to form these relationships with our followers, whereby they can just email us, pick up the phone, and they know we're always going to be there. And it's turned out for the best. It's brilliant. So I've got some strapped tools over here, John. I don't know if you want to talk about those for a bit.
No, absolutely. So we, at the very start of this project, we knew that we wanted to make our own straps. We knew that we didn't want to be reliant on other people to make them, because we knew that we could also make them. We knew we had the skills to do it, and we knew we had the contacts to help us out. So we enlisted the help of a friend of ours who also went to Coventry University. So both me, Sam, and our friend Mark from Bear Industries went to Coventry University, and he is a CNC machinist. Amongst other things, he has his own business where he makes his own furniture out of car parts and machine pieces that are made. You should check him out, Bear Industries. But so he basically made us the most over-engineered.
I've got them here, John. Look at that. They're incredible. So they're basically as beautiful as the final product itself. So these have all been CNC machined. You can see Mark's signature in collaboration with our brand, with the indicator saying this is watch tool number 1. How many did we have in the end?
Well, for that particular 1905, there was 1, 2, 3, maybe 5 or 6, because we had thickness rulers to cut the thickness of the leather out as well, with depth gauges on them. So yeah, there's quite a few.
So basically, how these would work was these would be loaded into a hand press, much like a hole punch. So you can see here they would fit into those holes, and you'd load the leather in down this end. So this would be one half of the leather strap, and then the tool over here would be the other side. And you can see where these were screwed down into a hand press and then literally just used as a hole punch, whereby you would be the one in control of cutting the leather and taking it out. And it would essentially leave a sort of kind of raw strap. These straps, the early editions, we kind of left them intentionally raw. And this was one of the first ones off of the production line as a test. And yes, many late nights spent in that workshop cutting out leather straps.
Because with all these things, there's always teething problems. We've never made watch straps like this before. We cut them out by hand to test them, but we'd never tested how well these were going to work. And it was only a few years later that we realised that probably easier to make a set of knives and just put some knives in a press. Whereas these, as I say, even the bits that punch the holes for the buckles out, we decided not to use circles. And normally on a set of knives, the circle would just be a bit of hollow bar that was kind of sharpened. Mark CNC'd ovals, so every single one is a CNC'd oval to punch the holes out of the strap. And it just meant that if anything ever got caught, it would mean that he'd have to re-CNC this tool, basically. So yeah, they were pretty over the top, but they looked amazing.
I mean, I've got the second one. I'm holding the second one now, and it's very, very similar to the first. But this would be for the other end, so you can see the shape of the leather here, where it's cutting around the bottom half of the leather strap, and it just behaves in a very similar way. So you would load it in, this end, and then
we have to spray PTFE spray to lubricate the bars that they kind of go up and down on, because they just kept getting jammed. Yeah. Oh my God, those late nights.
But yeah, we've got another set of these as well, haven't we? We've got two sets, one for the later editions, and then these original tools as well.
Yeah, we have further development from the 1929, which I'll talk about in one of the next videos, which was potentially going to be revolutionary. But anyway, I'll save that for another day.
And I've got the watches here as well, John. So I don't know if it's worth talking about the final products for a little while, but we've basically assembled these new stands that we're taking out on exhibitions with us, just to make it a little bit more easier for people to pick them up, try them on, a bit more kind of control over the space we have on the stand now that we've got quite an overwhelming collection. But yeah, in the original collection, we leave the straps nice and unrefined. We find that our followers all have different tastes. So the later you go into the collection, you'll find that the straps become more and more refined, but these are left raw and quite rugged. I think we use is it the veg tan on this one, John? The buffalo.
Yeah, it basically, unless we break them in, they're like as sharp as razor blades. So we have to break all the leather in by hand, just by rolling it. So that's why they come slightly creased, because we have to soften them. Otherwise, they probably pinch your wrists. They're that strong.
Yeah, and this is the blue edition here. So the two most popular watches in the range are the cream and blue. They're so nearly gone. I think we've got less than 10 of the cream left now. And the blue's not that far behind either. But we rivet the straps directly onto the case, and we try and keep a level of authenticity to the watch. So they're brazed directly onto these wire lugs that don't operate on a spring bar. This is meant to be a pocket watch with brazed metal shoulders on, just like the original watches from that era. And yeah, so we've never been able to pick a bestseller, have we? Like, we've always said, it's always like the more safer colors, and we thought that the white and black would be best sellers in this, but it turns out it was the cream and blue.
I think we said before as well, we could have cheated that by having a spring bar in between those wire lugs, but we just wanted to keep the integrity of this watch. That everything we designed, we wanted it to appear as if it had been designed in that era, and you'll see that in all the watches going forward. We tried to hold back certain innovations that would have happened at the time because they wouldn't have been there at that time. For example, this watch doesn't have a loom because loom wasn't invented back then. So the same with the spring bar. The spring bar wasn't invented till later, and we'll talk about that in a few videos' time. But we wanted it to be, as close to how it would have appeared back then as possible, really.
Yeah, I mean, this is the white edition. It's quite similar to the cream. It's a much brighter dial, darker strap. We were quite adamant with the color combinations. So from the beginning, we've said, this strap suits this color, and that's how it's sold. We were reluctant to go down the fossil route, as we like to call it, when it comes to the customization of the watch, because we believed that we knew that the watch would look great in these color combinations. So yeah, the white and brown has always
what goes out in the air. A lot of time went into the color combinations of what went with what. We literally spent hours holding different colors of straps up to different watches to whittle it down to be like, no, that's it, that's the one that works. And yeah, I suppose we've got to try and, when we're doing that, have the belief that we kind of, not that we know what we're talking about, because I'm not going to sound so arrogant, but as I say, a lot of thought goes into that.
Yeah. And the black edition as well. So this was quite a simple color combination, black on black. Always a classic.
Yeah. And again, in terms of, people might think, well, they're fairly muted colors, but like I just said, you wouldn't have got crazy colorful watches back then. So those watches were designed with colorways in mind of watches of that time, really. It was only down the line. For example, the 40s and further down, that we've kind of added color into the ranges, which is fine, because if you want a colorful watch, then that you have to pick a watch from our later ranges. Whereas if you want something that's a bit more subtle, you kind of go for the earlier colors.
Yeah. I think we knew where this collection was going, and we always have tricks up our sleeves, don't we, every year? It's holding those ideas back, knowing that they can come later on.
Yeah, that's the hard thing, sitting on our hands, being like, we really want to do that, but it's not for now. Like, we can't do it now, even if we wanted to. But there's so many things on the new watch that's coming out, and on the 1968 that we've been wanting to do for ages, but we just have to sit by it and not be able to do it. I do have a few photos of the kind of tool making process that I'll show you. Which are can you see that?
Yeah.
So this was real early days. This was probably back in 2012. Is
that a local pizza flyer?
Yeah, I think it is actually. I'm just checking to see if there's something on there maybe shouldn't be on there, but it seems okay. But no, this was literally chopping up leather on a kitchen table and seeing what worked and what didn't work. Just using it. We still have this hole punch here. It's invaluable. It's a really simple manual hole punch. So when people are saying that they need an extra hole put in or something like that, or even just making mock-ups, it's kind of, it still works perfectly. And just, we'd spend whole days going and just looking around leather warehouses and just trying to pick the right leathers. The very first watch, we wanted a strap that was going to distress really nicely, because we wanted to, tell its own story. We wanted all these watch straps that people would eventually see each other over time, and they'd be like, wow, look at your amazing colours on your strap. So the tan strap on the 1905 probably makes the biggest change in terms of how it turns in terms of colour. Just because it's a light strap to start with, and the lighter it is to start with, then the darker it can go. And we'd just be cutting samples, and we'd bringing them back and making mock-ups and seeing You know, how they work. This was us having spent a whole weekend just solely cutting straps to the right width and the right length, ready to go in the tool that Sam just showed you. Just time consuming, like so time consuming. And this was Mark in his workshop grinding, probably tools at that point. In fact, I think that's probably the pins that I was talking about earlier that he's grinding down to get chamfers on the edge to make them sharper. This here isn't actually the tool. I found this photo, and there's quite an interesting story with this. He's basically grinding a carpet remover. And we basically, when you rivet the straps, which is what we do, we have to rivet the straps on because of the continuous wire loops. They're really hard to get off. And that's a good thing because you don't want them coming loose and you don't want the strap coming off. And, you know, we've never had a strap fail. I can't think of them. I don't know whether Sam can on the 1905. Like, people have still got the original straps on there from 6 years ago. But in order to get the rivets off, you need to either drill them out, which is quite hard because when you drill them, the rivet spins and then heat up the leather, burns the leather, or you can cut them off. But then you've got the risk of damaging the leather because you've got to basically kind of separate the leather. So I wanted a tool that was going to basically be able to get underneath the rivet and pop it up. I spent ages trying to find one. I eventually found one in an antique centre that was perfect. And it was in this glass cabinet, and I think it was £15. I went to get the guy at the antique shop to come and let me have a look at it. And I said, what the hell is it made for? It was sprung loaded, it had the kind of sharp at the top that I needed. And he basically said it was to castrate sheep. I was like, as much as I love this, I can't take this back and know that this is covered in blood from like these poor sheep that have had their bits left off. But it was amazing because it was sprung loaded. So anyway, we eventually used this one that Mark's seen grinding down here. That is just a carpet tack remover, but we ground it down so that it's perfectly flush so that you can lift the rivets off really easily. These are the tools that we use to emboss the logos that Mark machined out. They go in a separate press, and they punch the straps. It's just one of the presses that me and Sam bought when we were living together. I think this was actually a riveter, but we kind of just use it as a press because it's really quite handy. Yeah. So this tool here was basically just to punch the holes out of the keepers. You had a separate tool that did that. And then these are, you know, them being tested in the presses to see how they work. A lot of detail into these. A lot of time and effort and development work. But they look amazing. I mean, look at that. That is cool.
It's nice to have these all archived and catalogued. I mean, I'm just getting memories of spending hours and hours and hours into the early hours working in Mark's workshop, trying to get straps made up.
No, but even things like, so we designed it all, and these were sprung loaded. Eventually, we took the springs out and just used the feature. These easier. But because of the tool pushing down, forcing the holes out, when you then lifted the press up, it basically lifted the tool off the counter. So you can see on the side of these now, we then had to build these brackets to basically clamp it to a workbench so that it then wouldn't do that. So all of this stuff that we just didn't know at the time, we're like, oh God, we still can't make it till we've made that. And I think I needed to get them back to ours to start making them on like the Monday morning. And I think we were still working at like 3 in the morning on the Sunday or something like that. You can see on this photo, that's it basically them being clamped. Just crazy amount of work going into this stuff that people probably will, well, until now, they really realise that we kind of did, because we now know that we can do it a lot easier, different methods. But, you know, at the time, that was how we wanted to do it. It was amazing to collaborate with Mark and, you know, for him to be involved. And we kind of, on and off collaborating, you know, we do exhibitions together and things.
Well, we wanted to take ownership of every aspect of the business, like from the really, really boring, mundane stuff all the way through to how is this thing actually made? And if we can do it now, then at least we understand it, and we know that if at any point we need to hand it over to somebody else, we can do so. So there's been this real drive to learn every aspect about the brand from both of us.
And I think that goes through everything because, excuse me, if you look at every aspect of the business, the first thing we have to know is, can we do it ourselves? And if we can't, can we teach ourselves? So on the website, like Sam did everything on that. All the design Sam does. When it came to assembling them, we were like, well, everyone else is getting them assembled elsewhere. Why can't we assemble them? Like, I'm quite handy. I know how to put things together. So why can't we do that? So we then decided, well, we're going to assemble them. And then the straps, we were like, well, how hard can it be to make a leather strap? And obviously all these things we realised just how hard it is. But at the time, it's like, oh, that can't be that hard. And it's probably to our detriment slightly because we, like you said, we have total ownership over this and we don't really like to relinquish any of that power to anyone else. So it's quite hard to let go of certain things, even though we know it probably speed up processes and things. If we did get other people in to do them, we're like, no, I want to do that because that's my thing.
Yeah. What a great trip down memory lane.
I know. It's quite good to see all that. I can't wait to see the other ones. Like, we've literally got folds of photos and clips of stuff that we haven't seen for years. And so just seeing those photos then was actually really quite nice to see. And so I can't wait to unearth, like the samples boxes of things. There'll be things that you'll never have seen before that we've already kind of found from other collections that we'll be able to show to you. And you'll be like, oh my God, I didn't realize they were at that point.
Yeah. I mean, like some of the photos that you just showed, I'd forgotten. Like it's amazing how quickly it's gone. Like we're in our 8th year, are we now, or 7th year? Yeah.
It's the longest job I've ever had now. This is the
I mean, that's quite nice, really, isn't it?
It is. It's amazing. Considering when we go back to the start of this video, we're talking about not really knowing what's going to happen. The fact that it's 8 years down the road now, and we're still here. We survive. Hopefully, still survive whatever craziness is going on at the minute as well.
I said to you, because you're based in the workshop in Shropshire, and I'm based in the studio in Essex. We're the ultimate social distancing business. We're already geared up for it. Like, bring it on. That's all I can say.
So basically, nothing's changed for us.
Yeah, nothing's changed.
Like the apocalypse, if we go on outside, we wouldn't have a clue. We just I took in the workshop because we don't really want people seeing in things. All the windows are kind of shuttered with blinds on them. So I never really see outside anyway. So it could be rainy, it could be sunny. I don't have a clue until I go out on an evening.
Plagues of locusts.
Yeah, exactly. I go out and the ground's completely scorched. I'm like, what the hell's going on here?
Well, do you think this would be a nice way to finish our first video?
I think so.
Yeah. Your mic keeps going so quiet.
Oh, sorry.
We'll have to try and fix that when we do. I think talk rubbish for the first 5 seconds, and by that point it sort of catches up, and then it will be loud again.
Okay, sorry everybody.
Don't need to apologise.
But yeah, I can't wait to do the next watch, the 1914.
Yeah, to the 90 points. So what we plan to do, we're planning to do one of these a week, collection by collection, looking at all of the ideas and all of the kind of anecdotes that we haven't necessarily spoke to people about at exhibitions, and just unearthing stuff week by week. So yeah, 1914, chapter 2 next week. This week is all about chapter 1, our very first collection. And we're going to put up a few bits of information on the website relating to this video. Just reminiscing, going back through our past and reflecting on what we've done.
Can't wait.
Can't wait.
Well, I'll see you next week, so.
Speak to you next week, John.
See you later, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.